one of the main villains, like I said, in the X-Men comics. And what happened was, if you look at his anger, it's justified, right? Like, his anger is justified. He saw his family and many Jewish people die. You should be angry about that. But the way he reacts is not okay. The way he reacts is not how we should react or respond to anything. So maybe we haven't seen exactly what Magneto saw. And maybe we haven't had the same reaction as what he had. But have we ever been in the moment of so much anger inside of you that you wanted to break someone's neck? Yeah? No? You don't want to admit it right now? You're feeling it and you're like, I don't want to be that psychopath that says yes. But I know we've all been there. We've had enough anger inside of us that we want to just destroy everything in our sights. And it's difficult. It's something that we don't know how to handle. But what if I told you if we stopped reacting to our feelings and responded, we would probably be a little bit better off in this world. See, there's a difference. See, a reaction is kind of like a knee-jerk. Like, oh, I feel this, now I'm doing it. A response is when we take a breath. It's when we just take a moment and we're like, okay, just like last week, I'm going to ask God, why am I feeling the way I am? Okay. Why do I want to slap that person in the face? Why do I want to go run after that person and tell them to stop doing all those things to me and saying those things to me? Because I'm so upset right now. What can be my justified response to that? See, Magneto never had a justified response. So how can we figure out this response? Well, what if I told you that Jesus had a justified response for his anger? Yes, I said that Jesus was angry. Do you believe that? Have you heard that before? Jesus got angry. Now, it's hard to believe, but he actually got angry. And we can see this. He gets to the temple one day, and he's just like, what is happening to my Father's house? There's people lined up outside selling things and doing all of like the market type deals in a temple that was made for God, made to worship him and come to his Father. And Jesus is just so ticked off. It's like us walking in here today and I have people just selling things to you so you can come in. That you have to buy this item first before you can actually step in and participate in anything tonight. Oh, and by the way, you can't use your money that you have to use our special currency. So you're going to actually have to give me more money than what it actually costs, so that way you can exchange your currency to be able to come in and worship God. How would that make you feel? That there was a barrier between you and God. How would that make you feel? Angry? What else? What other feelings would you feel if there's like, you can't walk into this place right now without doing this? You'd be sad, right? I don't know about you, I would be sad. And Jesus goes in here and he sees people in his Father's house disrespecting him. And this is how he reacts. It says this, so he made a whip out of cords and drove all from the temple courts, both sheep and cattle. See, in this moment, they had all the sacrifices lined up where you had to buy them there. And all the sacrifices were just lined up, and he goes, no, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to whip them out of here. We're not having that. Not today. And then he scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. This is great. He just flipped the table over because he was angry. He's just so mad. He was, all right, we're done. We're done with this table. Over it. Get out of here. And then to those who sold doves, he said this, get these out of here. Stop turning my Father's house into a market. His disciples remembered that it is written, zeal for your house will consume you. Jesus had probably about 5 options here, but the two were probably even easier to describe. So he could have either walked in there, saw all this market, and said, I have a lot of power to do miracles. I can do a lot right now. I'm going to curse you. You're going to have a disease now. You're going to have a disease. He could have went around and just thrown everyone out, right? But instead, he chose love. He shows compassion. With the flipping of the table, it was more of a sign of, hey, this isn't going to fly here. We are actually going to worship God how we intend. And how he intended this temple to be. This is how we are going to worship. None of this market crap. We are going to worship God. And there's not going to be barriers for those that are poor. There's not going to be anything standing in the way between my Father and his people. See, his anger and his response was justified. So, when we're angry, what do we do? How do we figure out that response time? How do we figure out that we can settle in to who God is and we can show love and compassion like Jesus did right there in that moment? What can we do? What would be your first option to show love when you're angry? Have you ever had to make that decision before? Have you ever made the decision to not react but to wait and respond? It's difficult to do. See, I had this moment when I was in high school. I had a friend who just was super disrespectful to me for about a month. And it was just like one of those things where it just kept going and going and going, right? And it's building. And so your anger just keeps bubbling up to the top. And bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. And I was like, okay, I really, really, really want to fight this dude. Like, I would love to get some boxing gloves and we're just going to go at it for a weekend and this is how we're going to settle this. Like, it's fine. But instead, I took a breath. It was a long month of all that, of this disrespect and everything. But over time, I realized that there was something more to this. There was something more to his disrespect and his anger. So then I took a step back and said, hey, like, this hurt me, but I think there's something. I think we need to talk this out. And me talking it out with him and figuring his side of the story and figuring what I was going through too, because he didn't think he was being that disrespectful to me. It evened out to where we were able to come to a consensus that we loved each other, we were bros, and we were going to be fine. And it kept my integrity with him. It kept the relationship that we had as friends all solid. Because I chose to respond and not react. Because each time he said something to me, I could have reacted. See, when you're angry, Jesus shows us how to respond. And in that passage, he showed us exactly how to respond. See, we can be justified in our anger as long as we take a breath and we know that we're not reacting, but we're responding. There's a huge difference. A huge difference in that. And I don't know about you guys, but anger is difficult to control. Last week I told you about my anger issues when it came to basketball, and I'm working on it and I'm trying. And I think if we can slowly take step by step into controlling our feelings a little bit better, we can actually change the world too. Because when we react out of our anger, it's something bad and more people are going to get hurt. Like Magneto, he reacted and a lot of people actually got hurt. We respond like Jesus and everyone actually realized that the temple was made for God again. So if we can respond like Jesus, we can show the love and compassion that Jesus showed every single person he came in contact with, then more and more people are going to see the light. More and more people are going to see Jesus inside of you. Well, you may be thinking, how do I actually respond? Well, I want you to try these 4 things this week when you feel angry. Or maybe not even this week because you might not see anyone. You might be happy that you're at home alone and relaxing and watching Netflix. But eventually when you get to this point of anger, I want you to try these things. See, I want you to ask what's wrong. Ask what's wrong. What is making you so mad? What is it? Then I want you to ask, what am I learning? What am I learning? Because guess what? We learn from everything we do. Everything we say, everything that happens in our lives, we learn from it. So what is God trying to tell me right now? God, what are you trying to help me navigate in my life with this anger that I have? And I want you to ask the people affected. See, this past week, we had some students who got a little upsetty-sketty. And they were able to talk it out. They asked the other person, hey, like, what is going on right now? What is happening in your life right now? Why are you angry? Oh, well, I didn't mean to say that about you. I was talking about someone else. It wasn't even about you. I apologize. And guess what happened? They were able to finish the night as friends, and they talked it out, and they responded, and they didn't react. If they can do it in a quick manner like that over something that could have probably ruined a friendship, why can't we do that every single time? And lastly, I want you to ask what's next. Ask what's next. And this is important. We need to ask God what is going to come out of this response. How do I respond, God? And then what is next after this response? Because guess what? That anger, if they hurt you or you're upset about something in the world and you're trying to fix it, that anger is going to still be there. You're going to still be upset. But what's next? What's my next step after I figure out how to respond? And I think if we can control this, our life's going to be a little easier. It's going to be a little easier to take some blows when people say things about you. But I think also it's going to be a lot more Jesus-filled rooms. In our schools, in our communities. There's going to be less bullies. It's going to be a great time for all of us. Now, we're about to go into a time of worship, and this time of worship, I encourage you to come to the cross. Drop everything that you're dealing with right now. Maybe it has nothing to do with anger. Maybe there's something going massively wrong in your house right now, or maybe your friendships is not working out, relationships aren't working out in your life, and something is happening. Lay it down at the cross. And give God the time in your heart throughout this time. So I'm going to pray us out, and we'll go ahead and get jumping into a great time of worship. God, I pray that we can open our minds and hearts to you right now in this moment of worship. God, I pray that we can lay everything at your feet, God. Let the Holy Spirit continue to move in this room right now, God. Fill this place up with your Spirit. We need you right now. And I don't know what we're dealing with. Maybe there's some stuff in our brains right now that just isn't adding up. And maybe we're having some thoughts that we shouldn't be having. Or maybe we're feeling so great, and we just want to celebrate you and who you are. God, we lift up your name in this house.